part of this community as anyone else, and good or bad in that. There's a lot of people in the panel. Essentially, I'm going to let them talk for 5 minutes each in the context of their job, the impressions that they have of why the crime rate is perceived or has increased, what they're doing about it, and if they could wave a magic wand, what resources, money, or otherwise they could use that would help with all of this.
The numbers for the last 3 years in burglaries citywide look like this. 247 reported in 2009, 294 reported in 2010, and 380 reported in 2011. So a substantial increase. I'm often asked what the drivers of that are, and I think there's really two things in play. The first is intractable opiate and substance abuse addiction, and sort of secondary, but quite a bit further behind that, are folks that are, I guess for lack of a better description, career criminal types of elements. Some of them also have addiction issues, but some of them are just folks who are engaged in burglaries on a regular basis.
Keith Flynn, the Commissioner of Public Safety, about a month ago, stated, I think, can only be described as a very disturbing and concerning fact for the state. More people are dying in the state as a result of opiate abuse, overdose deaths, than they do as a result of highway fatalities. And we're a rural state. And I think it's important that we provide kind of the context here of what we're up against. Our jails are full in Vermont. We have a corrections budget of $140 million. We have a recidivism rate, depending on who you ask, of over 50%. Chief Schirling and the Burlington Police Department have done a tremendously good job in keeping the city safe, and they should be commended for that. They're facing challenges. We're all facing challenges. What is the answer? I think it's always a balance. Obviously, you burglarize somebody's house, you are violating something that is sacred to somebody, and that is their privacy and their security. They should be held accountable, no question asked. But we also have to look at the back end of putting people in jail, because I like to say, the thing about sending somebody to jail is this: they're gonna get out. And it's in our collective best interest to plan for that release. I think we should do a couple things. And again, let me provide the context here. We need more treatment. The methadone clinic, which is a great clinic and a great program, a great form of treatment for opiate abuse, has a waiting list of, I think, about 300 people. And it's no secret what people are gonna do when they're not getting treatment. They're going to burglarize, they're going to rob, they're going to trade drugs.
So I would call substance abuse the #1 issue facing our downtown and in many neighborhoods. #2 would be mental health issues. And there's a distinction between mental illness and mental health issues. Mental health issues encompass a great number of things, and there's many arguments about what kind of treatment there is for mental health issues. There is treatment for people who want to engage in that. There's also a large cultural component, as anyone who's ever watched television in 2012 should know. Everybody has everything but me, and this is a current running through the community for people who believe they're disadvantaged. Many people are disabling themselves when they're unable to find employment. They see other people getting disability, and they believe the lack of employment opportunities means they are disabled and they are waiting around for disability payments. This creates an incredible amount of frustration and waiting and acting out when you're unable to get this. We are able to identify a certain population as having something called SFI. This is seen by the state as serious functional impairment. We would like to break this out to severe and persistent functional impairment, which is generally what the police department and our court system is seeing. Severe persistent functional impairment. This is very difficult to address. There's poverty involved, cultural entitlements, mental health issues.
I know a lot of my friends and colleagues are talking about leaving because it is at a tipping point. I also want to say that I think there's I don't want to leave with a misconception. I want to get the misconception that because you don't hear about people from Burlington Police Department that there's noise violations. That's a very small percentage, I think, of the actual number of violations. And again, we're just speaking individually. In the last 5 years, my house has been robbed once. My car's been broken into about 5 times. My car windshield was broken once. And probably there's been hundreds of quality of life violations. So again, there's a certain amount of pressure that goes on. One of the things that disturbs me, and I completely understand the issues of when a crime occurs, what happens to that individual afterwards. I understand those pressures, but it's still important to maintain law and order. And I think one issue that we have as families is that violations occur and there's not a very quick response.
And so we've heard that it is possible to sort of press charges against somebody for making a noise complaint. And I know that's not the right legal term, but without the police necessarily hearing it, that if you as a resident can bring that complaint without sort of an official witness, if you will. So I wanted to find out if that's true.
We have not had a successful challenge to the noise ordinance, so that is the way we do business. Everyone on the lease can get a ticket. It does depend, there has been a change in operating methodology. It does depend on the type of noise. It has to be social party event noise for that portion of the ordinance to be in effect. So if it's a loud radio and it's a couple people there, it's the person with the loud radio because it's not a party. So the noise ordinance has multiple sections to it and it has to fall under a particular section.
We're citizens of the town. I love this town. I lived here for 4 years. There are street people on Church Street, and I'm not editorializing or making judgments, but how should us, if someone comes up to you, not in a threatening way, but it's clearly a street person, what, in terms of social manners or whatever, should we as citizens, what is best in terms of enhancing the community, preventing crime, helping them?
Like any business, some panhandlers have good energy, some panhandlers have bad energy. And because they are panhandling many times within the law, they're not aggressive. The police department, Mike, and the marketplace and others are working on a new panhandling ordinance. May or not pass muster with the city council ordinance, but so if we are unable to prevent people from panhandling, we certainly can't go out in good faith and tell them we'll help them get a job, because nobody is going to hire our panhandlers, unfortunately. McDonald's has an 8-page application now, and you can't have any crimes in your background. So we tell people how to panhandle. We also teach them how to drink discreetly, not in public, how to panhandle discreetly, how to use their energy, what's legal, what's not, and let them know that if they don't do it correctly, they're going to pay on the other end. So I would trust your instincts. If it makes you feel good to give someone $1, their energy is good, you could do that. You could also give that $1 to a social service agency of your choice. So we can try and funnel people who are panhandling. We can kind of put that behavior in a box. If it's not lucrative, then they won't do it. They'll do something else. It's one of my opinions.
What would you like to see of us as citizens to support your work? And what should we as citizens of this neighborhood be doing to make your work easier?
The philosophy we use is community policing, which means we're all in this together to solve disorder, crime problems, to deal with issues that drive those problems. So continue to be active and engaged. When you see things that are out of place, trust that instinct. If something doesn't feel right, if it doesn't look right, call. It's an opportunity to